Hey everybody, I am testing out this mic and thought I would just do a little impromptu Resilient Purpose podcast. And if you watch my previous post, we talked about how we're gonna kind of end season 1 and of the podcast. We have several episodes coming out, really good options there. That I think are really, I think you're going to find valuable. And part of it is we need a break just to kind of regroup and kind of think about what we want to accomplish over the next year. One of the things I know is September is suicide awareness or suicide prevention month. And so we're going to replay a lot of our episodes that deal with that issue. So we're going to revisit Hussein, Bill Bauer, Kevin King and Leanne Price, where the main issue has always been dealing with suicide prevention, how to cope after we lose somebody. What do we do if we've tried and we didn't succeed or we didn't follow through, and how do we turn our life around from there? So that is certainly, I think, valuable content to revisit. So we're gonna redo that, and then we might do some things. We might bring Hussein back. I think we've kind of reached out to him about maybe coming back. That was a great episode. I really enjoyed having a conversation with him. So hoping that we can bring him back and have more conversation. So looking forward to that. So then we're also looking for ideas. What would you guys like us to talk about? What would you guys like to learn more about? If you have ideas on some of these summer burst ideas, like what are topics that we would like commentary on? Some of the ideas I have are, resilience. How do we build resilience? We always talk about kind of mental health problems, and how about we talk about resilience? How about we talk about what we can do to make life better? How can we be successful? Things like that. We could talk about issues like trauma, addiction, things like that. We had a really cool episode recently about mental toughness, and we talked it more in the sports realm of things, but I think mental toughness is important. Altogether. I saw a post recently. It was a post about watching kids, being aggressive in sports, not being seen as anger or, but the desire, the will to win, and, not get, that kind of where that anger might be misinterpreted. And so one of my thoughts was, well, maybe it is somebody that is struggling with mental toughness that maybe is really breaking down because they're not succeeding or they're not doing well. The team's losing. And so they're losing actual control. So, it might be this strong desire to win, and that's why they're so, worked up about it. But it is also that they're losing their mental focus. If you're losing control, if you're all over the place, if you're yelling and screaming, are you really focused and in control? I think that's a category of mental toughness. I always appreciated kind of those that really just were focused all through. I'm not against having fun and everything like that, but I really love the hockey players that when they scored, they went back and got right back into the game. I remember I coached soccer for kids, and so we always talk, the kids get, they're scoring and they're, what's the score? Are we up? And they want to know, but that gets our mind out of the idea of focusing on the present. So we get complacent if, we're up 2-3 nothing. So then we can kind of not worry about it. So my answer is always, it's 0-0, every play is a new play. Let's focus on that. That's such a fascinating topic. I just want to talk more about that, and just kind of the idea of how our mindset should be with, whether it's sports, whether it's our life, whether it's our job or our relationship. How can we be mental tough? Much of mental health problems has a lot to do with avoidance of what we need to deal with. And whether it's avoidance through substance use or avoidance through just isolating, avoidance through our anger, instead of talking about the real issues, we put people down about other things. We distract, we get away from the real issue. Having tough conversations can be painful, but the outcome is far worth it. Crisis, we always talk about crisis as an opportunity, problem is an opportunity. So don't let those go to waste. Take advantage of those opportunities, because if you don't, then you continue to make the problem worse. The more and more we avoid, the stronger that problem builds in our body and comes out in other ways. Physical health problems, sleep issues, lack of focus, work problems, relationship problems. So, how can we find ways to deal with the things that are bothering us? How can we be more aware of what's bothering us and address them and work through them and have those tough conversations? And that's kind of where I see therapy. Go to therapy to have those tough conversations, to talk to somebody and play it out. Maybe therapists can work as a rehearsal. Like, I need to have a tough conversation with my significant other or my kid or whatever. Let's rehearse it with a therapist. Let's talk through it so I can get it right, so I can do it well. So I can, work on the right issues. So sometimes we need help being more aware of what we're needing. So I don't know, gosh, I could go on in a lot of different directions, but ultimately I think when you think about mental toughness, you think about what that means. It's not about not letting anything get to you. It's about recognizing that something is getting to you and then figuring out, what do I need to do to get through it? Be accepting that you're not like this suit of armor that everything just bounces off to you and nothing ever bothers you. And that's kind of unrealistic, and it's also not very human. The fact that something makes you sad makes you human. Something makes you anxious makes you human. Something makes you angry makes you human. It doesn't make you a disorder. It makes you human. What leads to the disorders, the mental health disorders, the DSM-5 diagnosis, is when the things that get to us, we don't ever deal with, and we just let it fester and build and take over our body, take over our mind. That's where we get the disorders. There was never anything wrong with us in the first place. It's when you let things, it's kind of like if a problem with the house go and you don't fix any of the problems in your house, whether it's plumbing or the electrical networks or whatever, then things get worse and worse and things blow up and things, pipes burst, and, because we're not dealing with the issue. If we ignore, then problems get bigger, and then they become unmanageable and really difficult. I say that also kind of recognizing that it's hard to do that, to do what I'm saying right now, without a relational support system, relational health, people in our lives that support us, that listen to us, that are there for us, that can take us out to get Wits ice cream when we're down, that can go for a jog with us, that can go to the gym and work out, can just have a conversation on the phone. So if we're having mental health problems, one of the first things to do is really to get a support system going. If you don't have one, how can I find people in my life that are going to support me and be there for me? People I can talk to, people I feel comfortable talking to, people I feel safe talking to. That's going to be the key to starting. And that first person might be your therapist. And that's okay. But we can help you build that network. We can expand that therapeutic web. Let's learn to find relationships we can feel safe with and build that network. So we have options, we have resources. When we're well resourced, we are a better chance of success. And I don't mean resource like having tons of money. I mean resource by having the richness of people. We're a social brain, social beings. We can't survive without people. We can't be alone. The cruelest punishment is social isolation. Think about people that are in isolation in prisons. They go psychotic. They lose their mind in those systems for long, extended periods of time. Worst things we can do is reject people and isolate people. So, stress, crisis should bring closeness, should bring people together to help support. That's how we've survived to this day. That's really something that we have to kind of work on. So I think that's where I'm gonna stop on this topic. But if there's anything that I want you guys to walk away with, is look to build a support network if you don't have one. Find ways to use your support network if you do have one. Don't be afraid to seek out help. That's how we get better. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's that you have a lot of unsolved problems that need to be dealt with. So let's find ways to effectively solve those problems, to deal with those problems and get better. Don't let them build and fester in your body so where they become uncontrollable. So thank you guys. Thanks for listening. Remember, please join our Facebook group. Communicate with us through our email, our Gmail, or lifeandpurposebh@gmail.com. Suggest topics, suggest ideas, things you want to talk about. Send us anything, stories, anything that you think would be of benefit and help. So we can continue to talk about mental health and addiction and most importantly, resilience and recovery. So thanks again from the Resilient Purpose Podcast. Hope you guys have a great time.